Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gilbert Town Council study session for November 28th, 2023. I'll call this meeting to order. We have one item on our agenda. It's a presentation and discussion of the Heritage District Wayfinding and Place Marketing Plan. Place Marketing Plan, because I read it for the first time and I thought it said place making because we've talked about it that way. And we have some folks from Economic Development joining us this evening. Who's going to be speaking? Our consultant, thank you. Just come to the podium and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, I am Nicole Norgren with Multi-Studio, the consultant on the Heritage District Place Marketing and Wayfinding project. I'm here today to kind of give you an update and bring you along in the process of the project from both a wayfinding and place marketing perspective. As I said, I am with Multi-Studio, a multidisciplinary design studio here in the Valley, where we believe that design collaboration and the pursuit of possibility is in every project that we kind of touch. Just to give you an update on the scope of the actual project, we are looking at the wayfinding and place marketing plan for the Heritage District. The goals for the project were to capture the character of the Heritage District while also building a flexible and comprehensive wayfinding system that complements and doesn't compete with the vibrancy of the Heritage District itself, while also celebrating and balancing both modern and historical elements. I'm going to take you through the process to date in this quick little presentation here and open to feedback and suggestions at the end. To bring you along in the process, we went through an intake and integrate and understanding phase where we looked at various documents, various plans, all of the good work that you guys have done in the Heritage District to date. We also embarked on a series of community and stakeholder surveys. So we have a core project group made up of staff. We also have an external stakeholder group made up of business owners, residents, and people within the Heritage District, as well as the broader community. We did a survey that had over 800 responses to questions that had everything to do from what does the Heritage District feel like, what are attributes, maybe what are some challenges you experience in the district, knowing that this is, again, a wayfinding plan to help people navigate from place to place, discover new things, and really learn about the district itself. This was everything from qualitative to quantitative, so we asked very specific questions around naming conventions and things like that, as well as visuals. We also compared this against historical research and benchmarking. From there, we took all of this information and synthesized it down into core groups of things. So based on experience, based on how this should be organized, what are the landmarks and amenities that really resonate with people in the area and which should highlight and which tell the story of the Heritage District. From there, we boiled that down into key takeaways from attributes and experience as well as visual reflections to really understand and be immersed within the district itself. From there, that led to us kind of creating these big four takeaways, which we have here. The big four that this system and this place marketing effort needed to address, it needed to communicate the character clearly. It needed to be robust and flexible. As you grow and as you change, so does the system need to expand to meet that need. As well as visualizing the historic stories in new ways. We know that there's a really rich and vibrant history here. How can we utilize that to tell a story and bring people along on that journey? Also, there's a lot of different patterns and colors and vibrancy within the district, so how can we help to unify that and bring that along in the storytelling? All of that kind of culminated into a written statement, a design driving concept called Cultivate Character. The Heritage District has roots that run strong and deep. Over the years, its rich history has cultivated Gilbert's unique experience. Areas brimming with character add texture to the patchwork of historical agriculture and celebrate the diversity and complexity of the community and its goals to bridge the past and cross-pollinate the future. This work then led us into a visual exercise into what we call in our process a visual mood board. It serves as more of our North Star in the entire project that we can continually keep checking back to make sure we're all on track. This was one of the original points of alignment between the project team, the external team, the community. This board was actually built out of all of that research through dot polling and surveying. But again, it serves as that checkpoint. We can get far along in the process and always use this as a reference back to make sure we're still on track. A part of the wayfinding system is a place marketing effort. We are utilizing the place marketing effort as a wayfinding device to help aid in the idea of the Heritage District. And how do we create those, not create the boundaries, but explain that the Heritage District is more than just that small strip on Gilbert Road, that it does go east and west, it does go all the way up to Juniper and a little bit past Elliott, right? So how can we utilize the stories within the district in the existing landmarks to help tell that story a little bit more? So we're really leaning on these three historical landmarks, the canal, the water tower, and the railway. Those are each an anchor on the north and the south and in the middle to help aid in that wayfinding discussion. They also are tied very richly to the history of Gilbert. To kind of expand upon that story a little bit in terms of navigation, we're looking at the canal, water tower, and railway. They are not meant to be external-facing words or not districts within districts. Again, it's more of that wayfinding device to help orient you within the district to get from one place to the other and to explore things that you maybe didn't know were in the district. So if we look at the canal part of the story, it's very much rooted in the water, the bike trails, that mobility, the walkways, exploration. So we're taking cues from that, from an icon perspective or a pattern perspective that speaks to that rich canal history and using it as a wayfinding device to help orient you as to you are at the north end of the Heritage District. The water tower we're looking at is really tied to its agricultural history, the water tower itself, the farming, the hay. Being an iconic part of Gilbert is really an important piece to the Heritage District and kind of marks that midpoint within there. The railway, which is a little bit more to the south, we're looking at those core stories of the railroad itself. It's also tied to the HD South. It's also tied to the residential housing connection. So we're starting to use these subtle reinforcements to create place within the district. All three of these are not distinct and they're not separate. They are all together. They create the Heritage District itself. So we're taking the canal, which you see in the crossbar of that offset H on the left. We're taking the water tower on the right, and we're taking the railway on the left. And all three of those landmarks, all three of that pieces of that history come together to create the entirety of the Heritage District. Looking at the Heritage District, we are trying to tell all of those stories together. We know that there are unique attributes of the district. We are looking at this as being an aid in wayfinding and not a separate kind of identity branding and piece like that. It's more so that wayfinding destination and place marketing for this particular district in Gilbert. How that then expanded into a signage system. We're looking at a robust system, again, inflexible in nature. This is a modular system that works with various components. Again, thinking back to that mood board in terms of those more neutral colors by complementing the vibrancy, that's what you're starting to see here. A system is not just a single sign and not a single sign type, not a single scale. We are looking at everything from pedestrian to bicycle to vehicular to mass transit to private. All of that kind of comes into the same system here. You'll see we're looking at orientation signs, which happen at larger moments, historic signs that can help tell the story of the Heritage District, the arrival signs, which help reinforce destination, and the navigation signs, which help aid in those kind of sticky points, pinch points that we got from the survey. Out of the survey, from a challenge perspective, parking was the number one thing that people cannot find. They don't know where the lots are, they don't know where the garages are. So utilizing this wayfinding system to help aid in that is what the goal of this particular piece was. I already spoke about like the neutral colors being balanced with the district itself. We're subtly and strategically using pops of color here in these signs, like the blue, the green, the orange that you see, to aid in those sticky points that people have. The navigation to parking, finding the bike lanes, finding the bike repair, finding the ride share, using the color strategically to highlight those particular sticky points. This is a modular system. Like I said, you will not have to replace the whole sign if messages change or get updated. We know that certain lots are potentially under development and may go away in the future, so instead of replacing an entire sign, it's just a change of a panel. We are looking at a powder-coated water jet aluminum sign with those subtle patterns in the background with a Core 10 look finish. We're not using a Core 10 product due to its kind of patina from its wear and tear, all of that. We are also strategically using a lighter color on the faces of these signs to address the sun and to address the long-term usage within the district. Also, if you replace a sign after a year, we're really looking at, so the same color, if the whole sign is a color, it doesn't look faded in any way. So definitely looking at that and tamper-proof and hidden hardware and all of that. Another large component of this is again, the place marketing effort is driving the wayfinding and is a key component to the wayfinding design. But we are looking at different ways that we can bring that through within these particular banner signs. So there are currently banners all along Gilbert Road and to the east and west a little bit. Looking at utilizing the existing infrastructure and adding a panel on to help reinforce that idea of place. Using one as kind of a standard piece to speak to the Heritage District while having one change out to create those moments of discovery, those moments of interest, and those moments of what makes the Heritage District unique. Everything from holidays and promotions all the way through perhaps it's a little sliver of a mural that has like a little icon or an address for you to be able to go find that and discover more within the area. This is just a look at the signage in context a little bit. There's a blurred image of Gilbert Road in the background, again, to kind of highlight the vibrancy that is already there and how this system can kind of fit in with what is there. Again, it's meant to aid in the wayfinding and create sense of place while complementing the existing character and not competing. We are looking at incorporating lighting, but only to a few select signs. We're not looking at lighting all of these signs. The ones that are not lit are going to be in places that strategically are lit by ambient lighting, but the two that are lit internally are the large directory sign and the small directory sign. Looking at the large one to have the color changing ability that could manually be adjusted to accent the water tower or accent the Hearn lights. Again, having that flexibility for you all to be able to modify. Another key part to this project, a large part of this project, is looking at a gateway or arrival sign. While we are still working through the placement and have talked through everything from something on the north, something on the south, something in the middle, we're still working through that, but those are the kind of three areas that we've looked at. This was a round one of where we were at with design, looking at something, the historic Gilbert sign across the road was iconic and something we wanted to kind of take reference to. Looking at something that might be more standard standing in the median that comes out over the road, something that comes over the road completely. Again, these were all just iterations of what we had put together. This was the second round of signage designs for the gateway. Really looking at something that prominently said Heritage District. Every place has a downtown, but Gilbert has a Heritage District, and that's special. And that's something that we really want to pay homage to and respect in the signage package in the place marketing effort. A quick look at project impact. Like I said, we're not just looking at Gilbert Road between Vaughan and Page. We are looking at the entirety of the Heritage District. So this is just a quick snapshot of what the project impact can be in terms of sign placement. This is not something that will all roll out in a singular phase. It will be a phased implementation. based upon addressing those key needs first. Out of the survey, again, it was those pinch points of, I can't find rideshare, I can't find parking, really wanting to address those types of signs first in a phase one, and then continually roll out in additional phases, some more of those historic signs or more of that place marketing piece. In terms of our next steps, like I said, we're very much in process and wanting to bring you along in that discussion. We are creating a use guidelines, which will have all of the place marketing, fonts, colors, usage, how we're using it, how we're applying it. We're also working through a phased implementation, like I said, so there will be phasing plans, full design intent drawings with locations mapped out, as well as signage specs that can be readily handed to a fabricator for an implementation. And that is what I have for you all today. So I'll open it up for discussion and feedback.
Thank you, Nicole. Any questions, comments from the council? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation. I really like the direction we're going. The one piece I'm having a little issue with is the colors against the green of our poles. It looks like an afterthought to me instead of being incorporated, so I'm not sure if we can use, I like using our colors from our logo. I like that, but maybe we could change maybe the brightness of it or something, just so that it looks like we meant it to go with the green instead of we're just placing signs where we already have poles. But I like the direction you're going. On the, could you go back to over the Gilbert Road sign? That's right there. I kind of lean towards that one up in the left-hand corner because it pulls in the design of the other wayfinding signs, where the other ones, again, it kind of looked like we stuck it there, right? And so I kind of like that. I think we're really on the right track. It's just that color combo, and I get why, but if we can make it match a little better, I think that would be great. Good work on this, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Bongiovanni?
Completely agree with the Vice Mayor. I love the colors, but after she said that and I looked at it again, it does look like an afterthought.
Thank you.
Councilmember Anderson?
Looks like we were a race to the button there.
Yeah. I was watching for names to pop up, so.
I agree with what's been said. The question I had was whether or not we can consider some design elements from around the town that aren't specifically in the Heritage District, but they're part of our heritage. They're part of Gilbert and what Gilbert's known for. And I'm thinking of elements like the riparian preserve, and at some point the bridge down on Ocotillo may become an iconic feature. We should be bringing those, I think, into the downtown, into the Heritage District somehow, into the design elements. And for instance, the riparian would work well along the canal if we could do something with that element to bring it down to the Heritage District.
Thank you.
Very good, though.
Councilmember Torgerson?
Am I on? I'm on. Wow, I'm on. Having sat through some of the meetings, I just want to say thank you for involving all those stakeholders in that, because I think they were well reflected in this. Their input was, and staff certainly worked hard to make sure that happened, because there was attendance. So I see it here, and I do agree with Vice Mayor Tilke. I do like that one in the upper left, for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kaprowski?
Thank you for your presentation. I do agree with what others have stated, where I do really like the direction this is going. I think you've done a great job of capturing those elements, the heritage, but also the modern, and kept it very classy, so I appreciate that. My comment was regarding some of the colors associated with the destinations. The parking and the ride share, I believe, are both blue. Mm-hmm. And I would just say that maybe the ride share color needs to be its own distinct color. And the rideshare spaces have been, I believe, very successful, but part of that success is also the pavement markings and the general area. So I would like to see that comprehensive refresh to match these new design guidelines in those areas. In regards to some of the design of the signs over the roadway as that entryway, I like the incorporation of those geometric elements, so more as shown on the screen, the top right, and then I think it was option 1 and 4 in the previous slide. I think my only concern with some of the other options is I don't want it to look old or dated the minute it gets installed, right? I think something that's really nice about the Hearn hoop lights is that it is very modern, but it still fits within the district. And so I would lean more towards something that is looks very distinctive and like it was installed today for the future.
Thank you.
Councilmember Buckley?
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I really appreciate the tremendous amount of work that has gone into planning this and bringing all of this together. I love the three elements that tie everything in and how you've managed to do that. I'm not sure about the overhead sign. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that a little bit. But I love the way everything's tied in and all the effort that you guys have put in here. I'm probably the lone one, it sounds like, but I like the vibrant colors. I like the colors that are there. And it's hard to tell from this if, in the setting, they might not look as bright as they do in just the photos. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'm excited to see this project continue to move forward.
Thank you.
I have a question about the overhead sign, the one that goes across Gilbert Road, and is the location intended to be where it is in the photo?
Currently, we are showing it in place of where the over-the-street banner is. So we are looking at a variety of different locations. Again, perhaps at the north end, perhaps at the south end, perhaps both ends, and then one in the middle. Perhaps there is a larger one on both ends, a smaller something that happens at this location. That's still kind of what we're working through as a team. But right now, we're showing where that over-the-street banner is.
And it'll be high enough to accommodate the trucks that
And
go up and
parades,
down?
yep.
Okay, because that is, and the parades, thank you for saying that too, right? Yes, because that'll be an issue because there's a lot of deliveries done in downtown Gilbert. And then if we put it in the location that it's shown here, I would just be concerned that we would lose that banner effect. And I think that that banner is something that people appreciate having downtown so that they can advertise different events that are coming up that wouldn't be shown on any of these signage down there because it's special events, holidays, whatever the case may be. I'd love to see something like that more at the start or the end or both of the Heritage District, because I think we want to call attention to where you're entering, and that's typically where you see them when you're visiting other places. As far as the design goes, I'd really have to look at these a little bit closer and maybe a little bit larger so I could get a better look at them. They're kind of small to take a look at. What I have in mind is I did a walking tour with a group a few years ago, and we got to the building that is the Heritage Building. And the group said to me, boy, that building is in beautiful shape for how old it is. And I said, well, it's actually a very new building, but it looks so old, it looks like it belongs in downtown Gilbert. Like it looks like it's been there forever. So I think that if we can find a combination of that, because I agree with what Councilmember Kaprowski said, but I think that we can find a combination of the old and the new to bring into the Heritage District, because I think that's what we appreciate most about the Heritage District is that we have the old and the new mixed together. So something that's a little bit older to look at, but then maybe a little bit modern flair, like the circles, what do we call them? the Hearn Loops. Thank you. I didn't know if it had an official term. I don't think I've heard that before.
I saw it in the presentation.
Oh, I
that
didn't
way.
even notice that.
It was on the wayfinding
The Hearn
signs.
Loops, thank you. Otherwise, I think we're on the right track. Do we have any idea when we'll start moving forward with this? Amanda knows, I've been talking about this for a long time.
We are, our project schedule is to wrap up design intent and documentation by the end of the year.
Okay. And then when would we potentially start seeing signage appearing in the Heritage District?
That would depend on fabricator selection and moving that forward, but should be in Q1, Q2.
Q1, Q2.
Could be as soon as that.
And can you do me a favor and go
Yeah.
back to the page that you had all the banners on? That one, Monica, top right. Do you see it? The veteran banner, because that's something that's very close to our hearts, and I noticed it as you were going through, and it was small, and I asked Monica if she had seen it. So we appreciate being able to incorporate the veteran banners for the short time that we have them in the Heritage District, and I think it's just something that we can continue to do when it comes to special events like that and special projects, so appreciated that. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us this evening. Well, that is the only item that we have on our agenda, so I will adjourn this meeting, and you all get a few minutes to yourselves. Thank you.